Hi, you guys. Today we're going to be talking about measures of central tendency and also including range. So, measures of central tendency, that might be some new terms for you guys, but you also know them as mean, median, and mode. So, we're just going to quickly review. You guys should already have a good idea of how to define this, but just it's always good to review and refresh our memory. So, we're just going to define some terms at first. So, our first term we're going to define is the mean. This is the average value. We're also going to determine how to find each of these. So in order to determine how to find the mean, we're going to add up all of the data values that we're going to be given in a data set, and then we're going to divide by the number of data values that we were given in that data set. The next term we have is the median. This is always the middle value of the data set. In order to determine the median, we need to reorder the data values from the smallest to the largest. If that number of data values are odd, then it's actually going to be the single number that's in the middle of that data value set. But if the numbers are actually even, the number of data values in the set are even, then there's actually going to be two numbers that are left in the middle, and you will have to take the average of those. I suggest you guys being able to reword how to determine the median. You guys are totally fine to just rewrite what I wrote. But just go ahead and if you want to make that shorter, you guys totally can. In order to, the next term is mode, the data value that occurs the most. And in order to determine the mode, we need to identify the data value that occurs the most. So sometimes there might be a couple different numbers that occur the most in the data set, which means that would be bimodal. That means that there's only two. There's two numbers that are occurring the same amount of time. If there are three, then it's actually called a trimodal, and there is able to be no mode because it could just be each number listed once. Okay, so the range is the difference between the largest data value and the smallest data value. And again, you guys can reword how to determine the range if you'd like to make it shorter. However, you're going to reorder the data values from the smallest to the largest, just like we do when we're finding the median. But this time we're actually going to subtract that first data value, which is our lowest one, from the highest one, which is our last data value. So we're going to go over a few examples now, actually determining the three central tendency and as well as the range. So for our first example, we're going to determine the mean, median, mode, and range. So the mean was the average data set of our values, which means that we're going to go ahead and add up all of these values here. They don't have to be in least to greatest in this set, but we are going to add up all those values. When we actually add them all up, we get 35 as our data value. And then now we need to count how many there actually were in order to see how many we're going to be dividing by. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 data values in our data set. So when we do 35 divided by 7, we get 5. And now this is the mean. In order to determine our median, we are now going to put our numbers from least to greatest in order to see what value of our data set is in the middle. So I see that the lowest number here I have is 2. I like kind of crossing them out as I go because then I can kind of see if I've actually included all of them, because that's kind of the hardest part, is just making sure you have all those data values. And then I have 2 5s actually, and then my last one was 7. So I had 7 data values to start off with. I'm just going to double check that I have 7 here, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I'm missing one, which is that 9 right here that I forgot to cross out too. Okay, so now we have our median. I'm actually going to go ahead and cross off the values just because I like making sure I'm going directly in the middle. Oh, but we had an odd number of data values in our set, which was 7. So that means that the center number right there, that median, is actually going to be 5. Now I have my mode that I'm looking for. I'm looking to see what number occurred the most. I end up having 2 5s right there, so 5 would be my most number that occurred. There's no other number that occurred twice, so 5 would be the only mode. What's nice about putting these numbers in from least to greatest is that we can now determine our range already because they're already from least to greatest, meaning I'm now going to take the largest number, subtract the smallest number, and 9 minus 2 would be 7. So these are all of my answers here. We actually ended up getting 5 for mean, median, mode, and then we got 7 for our range. Let's go ahead and go on to our next example. So now we're going to determine the mean, median, mode for the same, we're going to determine the same things, but for a different data set. So I'm going to go ahead and determine the mean, which is where we are going to, again, add up all of these data values, and then we will divide by the number of them. So when we add up all of those values, I get 28, and now I'm going to count how many numbers I have in my data set. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to go ahead and do 28 divided by 6, and we end up getting 4.66 repeating. You guys can go ahead and round that if you'd like. I believe on the assignment that you will be getting, we will be rounding until the nearest whole number. So if we have our 4.6, then we would actually make this 5 here. Okay, so our mean is 5. That's our average value, which was 5. Our median, we are now going to put our data values from least to greatest so we can actually determine what they are. So again, I go from my lowest to my highest. So now I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, and 9, making sure I still have those 6 data values. So now I'm going to cross these out to see which value is in the center. Since I have an even amount of data values left over in that center, I now have to take the mean of those. So I'm now going to do 4 plus 5, which is equal to 9. And I still have to divide by 2 because there's 2 data values I'm taking the average of. So when I do that, I get my median to be 4.5. Now I'm going to look for my mode. I'm going to look to see which value occurred the most. Again, that's actually 5, so that's the value that happened to be listed the most times. And then my range, my values were luckily already in from least to greatest, so now I could take the greatest minus the lowest, and I end up getting 7 again. Alright, you guys, so this is just a review, so I want you guys to go ahead and you're going to be practicing a couple problems when I see you in class. Alright, for now, have a great day.